Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining us here today on Lita's Tap Styles and My Autistic Life. I have been told by the AI machines that I sound like AI when I introduce our guests. Do you mind introducing yourself so this isn't labeled as AI content right away?
Sure, not a problem. My name is Michelle Steiner. I am a writer, a speaker, a photographer, and a paraeducator, and I live in Pennsylvania with my husband Ron and our two cats, Jack and Sparrow.
Lita's like, hopefully kitty cats make an appearance at some point in time.
They just might.
Oh, we are so excited to have you on. I know we talked about earlier, you have like all these books you've written, you've done amazing things, but you were diagnosed, labeled, whatever we called it back in the olden days,
Yeah.
with a learning disability when you were a child.
Yes, I was diagnosed with having a learning disability whenever I was young. I was diagnosed in kindergarten, but in that time, it was more of a blanket term. We said you had a learning disability. We didn't call it dyscalculia or anything like that. They knew I had visual perception issues that's in my brain, not in my eyes, and they didn't. But I was also not diagnosed with limited hand dexterity until I was an adult. And the light bulbs went off after I got that diagnosis. I'm like, that is why things fall out of my hands and I have a lot of difficulties.
Uh, You mentioned dyscalculia, which also and dysgraphia. Both of them seem to also have fine motor skill issues that go along with them. These learning disabilities seem to have a lot of extra things that aren't learning to breathe, right? And all that fun jazz.
Right. A lot of people think when they hear learning disability, they automatically go, oh, you must have dyslexia. So you must see numbers backwards. And some people, even with dyslexia, do not see numbers backwards. I mean, that's a common misconception that everybody does that. But they don't understand that I have trouble with how numbers work and just memorizing things and trying to write. My handwriting has always been really bad for the time I was young. And there's also things with dyscalculia that are unique that a lot of people, well, not to me, but to a lot of other people, it's surprising. I'm unable to read the face of a claw. I can tell there's numbers. I can tell that there's hands, but very little makes sense to me. And I can also confuse my right from my left.
Lita, are you holding your thumb up because you're like, I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt? She's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
You can. She's like, I know what I'm doing. I know she had one dance teacher because of the right from the left. He was dyslexic and she was just getting that diagnosis. And he would yell at her, your other left, Lita. And they come out and go, she is so dyslexic. And I'm like, yeah, caught that.
Right. You know all about that, Lita.
But he was like, back in my day, they just hate you because they didn't understand that was because of dyslexia, because he was older than both of us and diagnosed with dyslexia as a
Right.
child.
Exactly.
And it's like, and he's like, and they told me to just, and she's had dance teachers tell her this, if you would just concentrate harder, the dyslexia will go away.
Yeah. Doesn't work that way. Unfortunately. Or people think, well, can't you just learn? It's, well, no, it doesn't work that way either.
The one she doesn't seem to completely understand, because when you're living it, it's just your lived reality and you just see everyone else as slightly weird, or at least that's how I see everyone else.
Right.
She does some dance jumps that everyone else tends to want to try and do. And I'm sitting there going, you've got to have like dyslexia and dysgraphia in order to.
Only the boys would stop falling on their butts. And a 4-year-old something too.
Because she doesn't track right. She can do jumps that they can't do because she's not having to keep that spot on the wall.
Right.
And they need that spot on the wall to function. And it's like, yeah, you just have to be neurodivergent and be crazy in order for this to work, boys.
Exactly.
So we had discussed in our pre-interview, you were diagnosed, as you said, way back in the olden days. How was that going through school with a learning disability back when it was all treated the exact same unless you had actually, I'll take that back. Even with the medical diagnosis, they just lumped it all as learning disabilities back then.
They really did. I had to repeat kindergarten the following year in a different school, and that's when I began to receive accommodations and specialty instruction. And it was hard. I mean, looking back on those years, they just lumped everybody in a learning support room. It didn't matter if you had a learning disability or you had behavior problems. Some people I even think had autism as a diagnosis because I mean they were not people that seemed to have learning disabilities. And I was also the only one in the room that really struggled with math. Everybody else really struggled with reading. So it was really hard to find that representation when I was in school. And I was able to be in regular ed classes though as well for science and social studies. That's when we started out with that and having the accommodations of having the test read aloud to me and having extra time on tests. And in high school, I was in all regular ed classes except for the math, and I had a resource room. But it was still hard being a regular ed. Everybody knew that I struggled. I went to a very small school district, so I couldn't hide the fact that I went to learning support or I struggled in the classroom. And I was bullied in both of those classes. So those years were really difficult for me.
I know I have a teacher who cannot believe I still remember this about 4 decades later. I was out of the room for my speech therapy classes from my general ed kindergarten class when they would do the letter of the week. Guess which student did not get letter of the week ever or until the very end when another student was like, Amanda hasn't gotten one. And she's like, oh, I forgot you existed during this.
Oh my goodness.
And we've talked a few years since then, and she's like, how do you still remember that? I don't remember that. Why was that something you remembered? And I'm like, because that was a big...
Right. It's something that you remember and that you didn't get a chance to experience. I mean, sometimes those are the things we remember. We can remember sometimes the bad things that happen to us. And sometimes it's also the good things too, but it's something very dramatic that we might remember.
And it can be very small to everyone else around us because she's like, well, every other kid didn't think getting the letter home was a big deal. And I'm like, because you didn't forget they exist. She's like, I taught for like 30 plus years and no one else complained 40 years on.
Right. Well, that's how it works.
Do you have, you don't have to pick a specific things, but from your, youth in school, are there things like that if you were to tell other people, they'd be like, oh, that was such a small event. Why do you still remember it? That you can still, doesn't necessarily still hurt now, but you're still like, yep, I remember that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can just, sometimes it might just be working in the classroom and something will happen or just, I could be there and I'm like, oh, I remember having an experience like that so many years ago. And that is something maybe a lot of people think, oh, you must have forgot about all those years. And I didn't. There are things that I do remember that happened. And I think that's something I try to keep in mind with the students that I work with. I want them to look back and to see a happy experience with me. And I just think I want to provide that for them because I remember looking back on my teachers and remembering a lot of that stuff.
That was going to be my next question. You are working in the schools now. How does having been there with the IEP and the 504 and being in special ed, how has that molded, is that the word I'm looking for? We're going to go with it. How's that molded how you're approaching your approach now for kids and the kids you're working with? How does that change how you might deal with them versus a teacher who was neurotypical and did not have learning disabilities?
I think one of the ways I'm able to understand what a lot of them are going through, not every single person, because everybody experiences it differently, But sometimes it's like hearing a recording of myself at that age. I work with seventh graders, and I'll hear kids say, I hate my learning disability. I really feel like I'm stupid. And I get that chance to tell them, you're not stupid, and having a disability isn't a bad thing. And I think sometimes it's that compassion to sit down with our students when they're struggling with something. I do work with an amazing staff, but I think sometimes a lot of them don't understand what it feels like to have a disability. So maybe there isn't that empathy, or because they don't know, they do not have a disability. And sometimes there's also not that ability to be able to sit there and know that that kid is trying. And I remember I had a student last year that was really struggling in the classroom with learning, and the teacher didn't quite understand what he was going through. And a lot of them did it, and he wouldn't work for them. He would refuse to work, but I would sit down with him and I would say, all right, whenever we have a resource, you and I, if we don't get this done, we're going to have to sit down and we're going to have to work on this. And he would come over and sit beside me, and we got the work done. As long as it's not math. All the kids know, do not ask me for help when. But I think it's really influenced my patience, and I think that if I think I would always wanna have a job to help people because that's in my nature, but I don't think that I would have that understanding if I'd never walked through that myself.
I know a lot of Lita's friends, even her
Mhm.
neurotypical friends, they're like, you have a degree in physics and math. You can help me with my math. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. I can do high level functioning math. If you're asking me to add 2 plus 2,
Wait,
we have this.
friends asked you for help with math.
Well,
They asked for they asked for help, yeah.
when you were at Michelle's and at ADT, both places, your friends, older friends who were in high school, because she has always danced with high school students, are like, I can't understand my algebra. And I'm like, so I don't get algebra. There are numbers and letters, and it makes no sense. Let me introduce you to calculus.
Oh, you mean the same
Mhm.
friends that when you are lucky, you are homeschooled, you don't have to deal with this shit.
There is no reason you do not need a calculator. I do high level math. The amount of Mathematica, which is a very fancy schmancy program on my computer that does fancy schmancy math, I don't need to know 2 plus 2 equals 4.
Yeah.
I need to know how it works. I do not need to know the answer. I also made a bunch of them laugh because the number one, the first proof you learn in mathematical proofs is not 2 plus 2 equals 4 or anything with numbers. It's girls are evil.
I would say that that can be difficult. Yeah, but
What? No, it's girls equal time and money. Money is the root of all evil. The root of all evil times time is back to girls are just
So
evil.
don't get a girlfriend if you're
I think it's fun. It's a play on words.
yeah,
It's
it's
that
fun.
and
Yeah,
a duck is a duck,
exactly. Right.
which is not what they're teaching in high school. And then you get to college and it's like, here, let's have fun proofs. And they're all like, what? This is what you get to learn? I'm like, just get through high school.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, I know you managed to go to college. May not have been the traditional route, but you went to college. How much does that help you with like the seventh graders who are sitting there being told sometimes by other people, oh, you're not going to get to go this traditional route? Can you like come up to them and go, hey, hi, I did it?
Right, and sometimes that really gives them hope because we also do social emotional lessons, and one of the teachers was talking about just believing in yourself and getting there. And she used me as an example. She goes, "Now, Mrs. Steiner, she was able to go to college. She'll be the first one to tell you she cannot do math very well, but she was able to get through this, even though she really struggled with that. And sometimes they'll use that as that example to be able to talk about that. And I get to talk to them too about things like that because I think for a lot of our students, I know I experienced it where people didn't think I could go to college. I was told that I couldn't do that because of my difficulty with math. I was also told by a psychiatrist that I would also not go beyond community college, most likely. So, what I try to do with my students is I try to give them hope and I try to see what they want to do with their life. Now, they are very young, that's still forming in their head what they want to do. But I think that is the key is to start planting those seeds while they are young and think, well, what is it that you'd like to do? And to encourage them. I do not fib and tell when my students complain, oh, when are we ever going to use this? I will tell them rather than I'll sit with them and I'll say, you know what? You may, once you're done with school, you may decide that this just is not for you to use and you'll make that determination. But right now, you have to do what we are asking. But eventually, you'll get to decide because when I went to college, I didn't go to study math. I didn't go to study a lot of science. I went to learn how to work with children. I learned about disabilities. And yes, there is math with that, but I'm starting to show them how they can advocate for themselves and just getting that ball rolling with just about what they want to do with their future.
And I'm the bad one who's like, yeah, you just need this to get through your SATs and get into college. That's all you need this for, but you got to learn it for that.
Exactly, because I don't think that giving them all those reasons of how they're going to use it really is helpful because people will decide and what they want to do with that information.
I had a professor who absolutely positively assured me that I needed to learn addition and subtraction better than I did because I needed it to balance my checkbook. I don't need it to balance my checkbook. So I've learned do not give anything more than this gets you through the end of high school.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
It's like, I'm confused. See, there used to be this thing, Lita, called you've seen me use an actual checkbook every now and then for the studio.
On that, you're wanting this kid to be on the episode when they're homeschooling kids. Like, oh, what? Go, what? Like,
Because you can be in conversations even though you have never been to public school, mainly because
Right.
I needed you to stay out for therapy purposes.
And sometimes that works
I'm
being
kind of
better.
like on real.
Right. And sometimes that works better too. I mean, it really just depends on the person and the situation too.
She was extremely nonverbal at 3,
Okay.
and the way TRICARE works is if she got the therapy through the schools, TRICARE would not pay for private therapy. But the schools in Florida were like, she's 3, she gets 15 minutes every 2 weeks. And TRICARE was like, or we'll give her 4 sessions a week. And I'm like, let me explain this to you nicely. I think 4 sessions a week is going to work better than 15 in a group session every 2 weeks.
Exactly. Because having those supports definitely is important and right. And you can make that determination. Yeah, exactly.
And we were lucky enough to be in a position where we could make that determination as a family and go, yeah, it's better for you if you leave the schools.
Mhm.
Your dad and I have
Right.
the education to teach you
Mhm.
and you get the therapy you need because there's no way you can get that in a school setting, unfortunately.
I agree. Yep.
But yeah, no, when we were making this decision, she could not understand what stop meant. She didn't know her color. She was not even babbling.
Wow.
Second reason also because I literally escaped my school once, went out of the playground, literally walked to the main road and almost got hit by a car.
No, that's why we pulled you out of private school. It's because the private school lost you. And I'm like, I'm paying a little bit of money for the private school.
Yeah.
I can get.
Exactly.
She had an overcrowded private kindergarten. And I'm like, I get overcrowded public schools. Y'all ain't funded.
I almost got hit by a car twice.
What? Oh my goodness.
The things that she remembers and I kind of remember just because it was a small enough town. The police called me up going, "Hi, guess who we have? Was she supposed to be in school?" The teachers do not remember this. This was not a big deal to them.
My goodness, I would think so. My wow. Yeah, I think.
But
Yeah, I think
you're like, if I
homeschooling's a
lost a
good option.
kid,
No,
they lost her more than once that year. And I'm like, the third time I get a phone call from one of the local law enforcement agencies that they have my child and they've hopped her up on sugar, would I like her back? It's the
so
moment that she
much.
no longer needs to be in your. And yes, it was always like, are you sure I want her back? I could have her back after the crash now that you hopped her up.
Right.
Um,
Funny.
but yeah, no, I mean, and everyone has to make what's the best choice. And a lot of families, they don't have the choice. I mean,
Right.
especially with today's economy, being a single income family is almost impossible.
You're right. I mean, it really is hard to be just that one income. This way that everything is. I understand. And you were fortunate to have the resources to do that.
But that is why what you're doing is so important because you are in that school system as someone who's been through it yourself, and you can help these kids. Sound so much like a savior complex system, but you can be because seeing someone else who was go before you, who's gone through it, is kind of more helpful sometimes than having. I know even with the parents at dance are like, wait, you're autistic, so my child might be able to do something with their life.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And they're looking at her and she's like, I'm 14. Why are you guys all looking at me? And they're like, but you're like doing something, Lita. And she's like, other kids could do this. And I'm like, yeah, they just wouldn't have gotten as upset as you to do it necessarily.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
But it does help seeing people in positions of authority who have gone through learning disabilities,
Right.
who have been in those rooms. How is it interacting with your other coworkers that don't have learning disabilities, are neurotypical, aren't part of the disabled community? Is there any time that you're like, I'm having to explain to them what's going on and why these kids are feeling the way they are?
Sometimes I have to do that. I think sometimes a lot of times it can be really difficult for someone to understand that's never been through it. Sometimes if I have to explain that I have a disability and I'm not able to do math, a lot of times people think, well, I can teach you how to do it. And it just does not work that way or how people can do that. So I have to explain it. And that can be really difficult to be able to have that conversation because everybody comes in with their own perception of what disability is and what to do with that. So that can be really hard to, and plus people can't see my disability. So a lot of times they're thinking, well, wait a minute, she's an adult. She went to college. She should be capable. She should be able to do a lot of this stuff. And it's that I have to advocate for myself and be able to tell others, well, what I can and what I'm not able to do, but also how it can be an asset as well. And I think sometimes I have to explain to other people that it is hard for them. Sometimes it can be really difficult if a student maybe has dysgraphia or does not have good handwriting to hear sometimes teachers may be talking about, oh, messy handwriting. And that and not seeing the need that need where, okay, if we can maybe just get them to learn how to type, then we could possibly move on. That can be hard. Sometimes it can just be really difficult if you have a student that maybe doesn't understand, like with reading, that can be difficult. They just don't quite get why that student can't read or how to be able to best support them. So I think that can be a real challenge at times.
I was only laughing for the
Mhm.
dysgraphia because I got in so much trouble over what my handwriting looked like as a child and told, because I also will start at the left hand
Uh-huh.
end of the or side of the page and end at the right hand.
Yep.
like a little triangle down. And only one of my teachers ever was like, "Oh, you have dyslexia." Because back then, everything was dyslexia. It wasn't,
Right.
like, couldn't be the like 17 other things it is now. But yeah, no, a couple teachers are like, "How did you get through college?" And I'm like, "Because my professors would let me type things up."
Exactly. And I remember being in school, and when I told them that I wanted to be a writer, I had another student said, "Well, if you want to be a writer, you have to be neat." Well, to this day, I've had things published, and to this day, I've not had an editor that said, "Hey, Michelle, I want to have a handwritten copy of what you wrote."
I don't understand why they would. Oh, the pity has come down and he wants to play ball. That's what's going on.
How sweet. Cute.
Let's see if he'll go away from me for 5 seconds. But that is a noise in the background as he has decided he's like, I am here to play. He's been sleeping all day
Oh,
after being up all night from not feeling good. It's like it was your fault because you got into the cabinet and got the food out while I was gone. But that was another point I wanted to hit. You are a published writer.
yes.
There are going to be people on here going, how did that happen? You have dyslexia. How can a dyslexic person be a writer?
So, for the time I was little, my parents really emphasized books and reading and writing. My dad would read me a story every night when I was little. And I learned to fall in love with reading and writing. And I remember I wrote a dinosaur in second or third grade, and my dad found it and said, "Wow, this is really good." And up until that point, I never had anyone that really complimented me and said that I was doing good on anything. So I thought that this is something. And reading and writing really became my world. And I started writing poems. I started writing a lot of stories. And in fact, that's how I met my friends that today, my writing group. I started out not having much of a connection with my school, so I thought I got to reach out, and I found an arts group that met just outside of our school district. And I started hanging out with them, and I found some friends and acceptance, and I could shed that layer of being the outcast that followed me. And then after I stopped hanging out with them, I found an adult writing group, and they were just a few years older than I was. And I think I wrote some poetry and some other really bad things that I would not want to read today. But my friends were really encouraging me. You should really write about having a learning disability. And I thought, oh no, that's too personal. So I put that on the shelf for a long time. And I can even remember in college, I had professors that would tell me, "You're not a good writer." And that was really hard to hear. I went forward, and I can remember taking my paper into the writing center, and I was all nervous about that. And the grad student looked at it and said, "Okay, this is not a big deal. These are mistakes that I make. Here we go." And he helped me with editing the paper. After school, I got married and I moved into my house, and I could not unlock the front door because of my limited hand dexterity. And there was a call on the mighty for what's a seemingly easy task for others to do, but it's really hard with your disability. And I was so frustrated that I thought, I'm going to write about this. And it got published. And I was just so happy about that. And that I got such a good response that encouraged me to write more articles, and also encouraged me to start my own blog called Michelle's Mission. And I had two anthologies. I've had stories in two of them, and I have a third one coming out hopefully in November.
Let's see if my brain can catch up with my tongue real quick. I definitely have ADHD, and the amount of stuff people do not understand about ADHD and how it affects your speaking sometimes drives me bonkers.
Right.
But do your students ever find out that you're a published author?
Most of them don't. I mean, occasionally, if I see a student that likes to write, I'll say, I like to write too. But my students mainly do not know that I write.
Do their parents ever find out that you're a published author?
I'm not sure. We don't really interact much with the parents, so I'm not sure. I might have had a parent here or there. I mean, might know, but
Yeah. I was just thinking, that might be, but like you said, when they like to write. It would be great sometimes for the parents. Maybe I don't know. I have to
Mhm.
deal with a bunch of neurotypical parents at the dance studio, and half the time I'm going, "Hi, the autism is not a death sentence."
Right, exactly. No, that's so important. Definitely.
Have you ever wanted to go back? Only because I have a friend whose mom did this because he's into music, and his music teacher in elementary school told him he was no good in music, might have kicked him out of his music program. And then he may have, but his mother then found him private lessons, and he may have been the person that was the soundtrack to the late 90s Disney. And his mother may have gone back to the school teacher, dropped all the awards on his desk, and gone, "What do you have to say now?" And the way I heard the story, the school teacher went, "There's no accounting for taste."
Oh,
Do you ever, is there ever like a teacher or an adult who told you you couldn't write, or one of those kids that you kind of want to go hand all those published pieces to and go, see, I'm a published author now?
I know. There definitely are people that I would love to go back and tell them that I did make it and everything did turn out for me. And but there was also good ones too. And I got to run into, so I always love it when I get to run into the ones that did make a difference. I had a chance to see my very first learning support teacher a few years ago, and I got the chance to thank her. And she's like, "Oh no, you put in all the hard work, but it was also your parents. Your mom, if she had a concern, would call me. And if I had a concern, I would call your mom. And your parents worked with us with the school. And I think that's important too, is working with the family, working with the student, just so on the behalf of that person.
She was in Montessori when we did the original diagnosis and all this, and her Montessori teacher was, on one hand, the best, and on the other hand, the one IEP meeting we had with the public school system, I was like, at least I get to be the nice, kind parent because you went to town on them. But it was the best deal because she's like, "Hey, I know we're supposed to have parent-teacher conferences X number of times a year. Can we up that to, like, once a month, or can I call you on Friday and go, 'Hi, I need your help explaining this because I don't know autism.'"
Right.
And
Exactly.
And
I
having that parent-teacher relationship, though, helps a lot, especially if you're on the same page.
Exactly. Yep. I agree.
And her Montessori teacher, I still know most of her Montessori class. They've all been since diagnosed as neurodivergent. Wow, shocking having known them as their preschool. I think Montessori just attracts neurodivergent anyways.
Right. With their approach.
But her teacher was like, "No, she's my first autistic kid." And the whole time we're doing this, I'm like, "I think you may not be neurotypical."
True.
But she had grown up in Montessori. She'd done all of her teaching in Montessori. She'd been trained
Hmm.
as a Montessori teacher. I'm like, you just have never been in the neurotypical world to realize you're weird.
and detectives.
But it was things like when we found out she was tracking toward dyslexia and dysgraphia, in the Montessori system, it's like, okay, let's slow down. Let's figure out how best to teach her this, if there's a way to teach her this. And maybe we do hold her back, but it's a little different when you're in, 4-year age groups than
Right.
holding you back in kindergarten, because that's a lot more evident there.
Exactly.
Um, and it was a lot more, okay, well, how is her speech therapist teaching XYZ while we're learning colors? Okay, we'll bring that into the Montessori, which you can't really do in a public school as easy.
You're right. Right. Because a lot of times public schools, everything is this cookie cutter mold and it fits one type of student, not even not everyone. Even in our support classes, they yeah, we try to support students that have disabilities, but we don't treat them differently. We want them all to be in this mold. So I can understand the frustration.
And that was my deal with her teacher. I'm like, I get the frustration. Let's calm down, especially with girls with autism, especially since she was diagnosed so young. Her teacher's like, yeah, she's having meltdowns because I can't get through to her. Do you have a way for me
Mhm.
to tell her I just want her to wash her hands before she goes out on the playground to have her snack.
Right.
And the school system we were in was like, oh, you didn't tell us she was aggressive.
There was a boy trying to I seriously hope he got help with his anger issues and aggression. That's
But
the
with-
last 40 minutes. Wait, one.
But with girls, a lot of times meltdowns can be labeled as aggressive. And her poor Montessori teacher was like, but she's melting down because she doesn't understand what I'm saying. I would melt down too.
Right, exactly.
There was literally a boy who I hope got therapy for his anger issues. Issues who I seriously hope got therapy for his anger issues. Seriously needed therapy. I hope he got that therapy.
So there was a boy in her class who was the same age, and he was tossing like toy cars in class, and he was tossing pieces of concrete and rocks. And she's like, you won't label him aggressive. She's like, not that I'm saying let's label him aggressive, but you're like, that's boys will be boys. But a girl cries because
Right.
she does not understand me. And it's like, yeah, because it's, but you kind of have to. In public school, you don't have not the freedom, you don't have the luxury of being able to treat each child different.
Right, exactly. We don't have that. Yeah, I agree.
And most parents don't have the luxury of paying a few $1,000s a month to send their child to a Montessori school.
That's the plus.
Sure.
Since there was a good chunk of girls in that class, I remember one of the people from that board went there and tried to convince us that he had a crush on us. Yeah. 3, 4-year-olds know what a crush is. He probably really understands those feelings at like 3, 4, and I don't think anyone has those feelings at 3, 4. Unless it's a cartoon character, then yeah, like everybody has that.
There was definitely a culture class when they brought in the child find and early education guys from the school system to help at Montessori like this. And Montessori is like, this is not working.
Right, right.
I mean, I could have told them that was going to go that poorly.
That's hard.
We were all 3, 4 something. I don't think any of us had questions. He wasn't even knew what a relationship was.
There's also definitely a difference. I will admit, we were in Florida, and public school systems do differ between where in each state you are.
Yeah.
And it differs between states.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, in some states, they do more with funding. Other ones might just have different ways that different practices that they do as well. So, yeah, I agree.
And taxes are a big deal.
Yep. I know they have a great deal of problems.
We live in a state where we've got a deal where the every increase in tax dollars has to be voted on by the voters. It's fun.
That would be
Try
hard.
funding. Yeah. And the first thing to cut is always sped.
So apparently a deadline for people with disabilities. Cut that off and cut that off and just cut everything off. And they wonder why I'm adaptable. You know what? If such thing that like the whatever a zombie apocalypse is in reality happen.
It's been real. She gets to hear all, since she's homeschooled and it's her studio, she gets to hear all the parents come in with all their complaints about how bad the special needs issues are in the schools right now.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that would make sense.
And when you're 14, you kind of see that differently.
Sure.
As someone who works within special needs, I know a lot is going on in our community right now. She got out of it. I was just at a resource fair where people were asking me questions that from inside the community, I kind of felt were silly. Things like, how do you refer to yourself?
Right, exactly. I refer to myself, I do person first language as a person with a learning disability. But I know other people might, especially those that are autistic, might say that I'm autistic, and they might put the disability first. I think it just really matters what the person is comfortable with using. I was even at a meeting where we're shying away from using advocate to person with lived experience. So terms do change with that. And I think it's just what the person's comfortable with saying.
They change like daily, and
Yeah,
I cannot keep up with where
right.
they are now.
And I am fine with that. What I have an issue with, or when people want to do the politically correct ones, like, oh, you're not you don't have a disability, you're just differently abled. No, I do have a disability, and it does impact my life. I mean, it's a fact of the matter. I also get people that'll might say things like handy capable, and I'm like, well, no, that's not the term. And I think sometimes when we dance around those issues, we like to look at it as saying that having a disability is a bad thing, and we say disability is not a dirty word.
That was going to be my next question,
Mhm.
because people were like, "Oh, how have you and Lita overcome your autism?" And I'm like,
It's not okay. How about that? We just accept that people are. We just there are different. There are different kinds of. There are different. How about you just let me know that I'm not gonna
"Let's not go
regret
that
it?
way."
Agree
Because
100% with you, Lita. I mean, yeah,
yeah, call me aggressive or not be aggressive, and yeah, that my whole entire life. If you want to be aggressive, you could tell me. Well, I punch you. What?
Let's not be aggressive. Okay, you can.
He's not a dog. He's being a bad dog. It becomes a bad dog because at that point it just accepts that you think it's a bad dog, and then it just starts acting like a bad dog, and this dog gonna act bad.
right.
She has some opinions.
That is
But yeah,
fine, but I can see that definitely because people do take on that, and I think a lot of times I see students that can't tell me what their disability is, and my parents always put in really simple age appropriate terms. You have a learning disability, your brain just works differently, or you learn differently. And hearing that is so much better than maybe what my peers were telling me. So I think that having the word, using those words in simple age appropriate terms helps students with disabilities to be able to understand that. And I get people to tell me that all the time with the overcoming thing. Especially people who know me, they'll say, "Oh, you have a bachelor's degree. You must have overcame your disability." And I have to say, well, I may have a bachelor's degree, but I still have a learning disability. I've just found different ways to be able to cope. I get a lot of people say, "Well, you don't look like you're disabled," and they just think, "Well, there's nothing wrong with you," and they're looking for the cane or the wheelchair, and it's not there. So I had to explain that. So it can be very frustrating.
she's screaming because she may have get that from her autism, and she has a bad hip that's
Just,
misformed.
just saying, I have a bad right hip. Oh, what? Like nothing. Just get over what the fuck every I am, but in it. It's a bestie.
True. I agree.
She has had adults tell her, "Oh no, you." And what happened was, she did at 11 months, she popped a hip out of joint. They did not pop it back in.
I don't want you to let me watch Phantom of the Opera.
It grew just slightly, about a quarter to a half inch, depending on where you're measuring it, at a joint. It is no longer a ball hinge joint. And she's a dancer.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I
And
can.
the number of dance teachers, the number that it went on me. Why did it go on me? Can I speak now? Okay, I must have muted myself. The number of dance teachers who are like, "Oh, you have created this because you want to have something else." And it's like,
Why
Like,
now your bill?
but you did answer another question I was going to have for you, because I know a lot of neurotypical parents and some of the providers are like, you should hold off as long as possible before you tell them that they have something different with them. And I was going to
Right.
ask you, when do you feel is the best time? Because I've obviously raised her as autistic, and people are like, why did you raise her autistic? Why didn't you wait till she was like 18, 19, 20 to tell her?
I think it is important that they know when they are young, because that way that becomes their way of life. They understand what they need to do, and they're able to be able to make all those decisions. And I think it's just very important to start when they're young.
Uh, I am obviously not disagreeing because I've raised
Right,
her
right.
from the beginning, but um, yeah, I've had lots of friends who are like, oh no, you shouldn't have told her yet. And I'm like, you don't think she would have noticed?
Oh,
Right.
oh,
Yeah,
51
exactly. Everybody,
minutes.
yeah, I agree.
She's over there being the little producer going, we are at 52 minutes
I
and you said an hour.
know.
Right.
Michelle, let me see why this is not working. We had so much fun having you on. Would you be willing to come back on the show at a later date?
I would love to come back on at a later date. That would be awesome.
Great. Before we let you go, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at my blog, www.michellesmission.com.
Great. Anything else that I didn't touch on that you want to tell people before we leave?
I just want to encourage people that success doesn't always come in the package that you expect, but sometimes it comes in something even greater.
Always a great way to end the episode. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for putting up with Lita and her very opinionated opinion.
No, it's been a pleasure.
All right. She's like, I'm sassy. And we will talk to you again soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, it's Amanda from Leah's Tap Styles and My Autistic Life. Yay, I remembered which organization I'm representing today. I wanted to hop on real quick because, as you possibly know, if you've been following us on socials or if you follow the nonprofit that Lita founded in Colorado Springs for autistic dancers, it is Colorado Gives season. Or if you've listened to our podcast earlier this week about Colorado Gives. Colorado Gives is a huge, huge fundraising event here in Colorado. A bunch of the nonprofits from around the state get involved. There are prizes for those nonprofits who raise more money than other nonprofits. The Colorado Gives Incentive Fund is a thing. Jack, drop the chocolate. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let us try this again from the beginning. Hi, it's Amanda from Hi, it's Amanda from Lita's Tap Styles and My Autistic Life. I wanted to hop on real quick because if you have been following Lita's Tap Styles, if you have been following our nonprofit, Autistic Wings Dance Company, you probably know that right now, November 2025 into December 9th is Colorado Gives Month. It is a huge fundraising effort where you can help join the wave of generosity and donate to some of your favorite nonprofits here in Colorado. We have the incentive fund that is part of this. For every dollar we raise, we get a part of the $1 million incentive fund. There is a leadership board, and the first and second place in the 3 categories, small, medium, and large nonprofits, and they get $10,000 and $5,000 respectively. There is right now, as I'm recording this on November 4th, a matching grant where if you start donating a new monthly donation of up to $100 a month, the Colorado Gives Foundation will match your first month. That means your first month, this month, actually, November, when you donate, instead of donating $20, it'll be $40. Instead of $50, it'll be $100. Instead of $100, it'll be $200, which means your money is instantly doubled. We are participating because, as you might know, Lita started a dance studio called Autistic Wings Dance Company. It's for autistic dancers ages 3 to 4. We do level 1, level 2, level 3 ASD. We've got kids like Spencer who are level 3. They have to have private lessons for reasons. He needs that one on for Dill, one Spencer, 2 for teachers. I know, amazing Dill here. 2 of them are his parents, so we're not paying at least 2 of them. Unfortunately, we have outgrown our current facility and we need your help raising $5,000 in monthly donations. I will link to the video about it below, along with to the website where to give. If you are able to give this season, we would be grateful. If you can't, we understand. If you can also, comment on our social media posts, if you can share them, if you can follow Autistic Wings over on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube to help get the message out, we would appreciate it. You're probably going to hear a lot. If this is not November 2025, December up to December 9th, 2025, you can still give. The link will be active year round. It's just the incentive fund and the fun competing against each other is only active during that time frame, but your gift of any size is helpful year round. We do not charge our dancers what their classes are worth. It's costing me $290 an hour to put on classes right now. We charge them significantly less. Thank you for all of your support of Lita's Tap Styles over this past year, and thank you for all your support of Lita's dream to have an autistic dance studio and to start it here in Colorado Springs and then send it out into the world. We want to have campuses in LA. We want to have campuses in New York, in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where Lita is from, and Lita and I are from. We want to have campuses in London and Paris and Toronto, in Brisbane, Australia. We want to have this go worldwide and there to be an Autistic Wings dance company within an hour or so drive of every dancer who is autistic out there who wants to be involved. And to do that, we got to stay nonprofit. I mean, we could make money on this, but that wouldn't be fair and that wouldn't be changing the world. That would just be making money. So if you can give this holiday season, go to www.coloradogives.org and search for Autistic Wings Dance Company. Check out the links in the description below. Thanks again.
Hello, thank you for watching the podcast, and please subscribe and also look at the adorable paper. So if you want to subscribe for it, and also please leave a like. And don't forget, if you subscribe to us, if you won't miss any of our new podcast feeds. And also, did you see the adorable paper? Don't you like it?